I have a few safety and demo things to tell you about. First off, you'll be working with a pink piece of linoleum about this big. This is a previous example. You can see that they carved away the low spots and the ink stayed on the raised areas to make their print. You're going to come up with your own design in your sketchbook, but once you have a design, we need to draw it to the right size. So on a scrap paper, you will trace around your block so you know how big to make it. And then you'll draw your design in here. Pretty butterfly. To transfer your drawing onto here, what we'll do is we'll shade the whole back of the paper, and when you flip it over onto here and trace it, it will transfer your image from here to here with that black graphite. Okay. When you are ready to carve, you will need a bench hook. A bench hook holds the linoleum safely on the table so that you don't cut yourself. You want to take this bottom lip and hook it on the edge of the table. And then the top lip is where your piece will be. So just so you can see real quick. Bottom edge of the hook here, top edge here. Now, when you are cutting, you do not want to hold the linoleum in place with your hand because you will cut your hand. Instead, you want to use the bench hook to hold it. So you'll put your project all the way up against here when you're working with it. If you are carving and you need to turn this, that's okay, but don't ever carve back towards yourself or towards your hand. Turn this as you need to, so you're always carving towards the bench hook here. You have several different tools in here that you can use for cutting. When you take the bottom off, you'll see there's different tools in here. They have different numbers and shapes on them. I usually like to start with a smaller one first so that I can get my design on there, and then I'll go through with a bigger one and carve out my big spaces, and then a smaller one later. Some of these have a V shape on them. Some of them have a U shape on them. They'll give you slightly different types of cuts. I'll just use this one for my example. All of these go back into your piece so that they don't get lost into your carving tool here. To insert this in here, there is a dull side that's rounded and your sharp side that you carve with. Don't insert the sharp side and don't push on this with your finger. Okay, you want this to be loose, and you'll see there's like a little rainbow inside of there. You want to finish the rainbow with the rounded edge here so that it makes a full circle around that peg in the center. Once you have it in there, you're going to twist this so it's tight. If it comes loose while you're working with it, just tighten it back up. Okay? On the back of your linoleum, you can do a few practice cuts until you feel comfortable before you start actually carving on your project. So when you're carving, you don't really want to dig all the way through. Oh, that wasn't sharp or tight. You don't want to dig all the way through, you just want to glide on top. So I'm just gonna take a little bit off, and I could have gone a lot deeper, but I don't need to. Put all these into a pile. You'll throw them away at the end of class. If you go deeper, your line will get thicker. Let's see what a deeper line looks like. But really, a shallow line is enough, because then you have your recessed areas and your raised areas. The ink will only stay on the raised areas. When your design is all done, you need to do a test print. A test print is going to tell you if there's any places that you missed. Like you can see, there's still plenty of black that was sticking to the background here. So that would mean that I would need to carve some of those areas a little bit more. So for your test print, you'll need a piece of scrap paper. a piece of plexiglass, a brayer, and some ink. The brayer is just a roller that we use to roll the ink around. The trick is not to paint the whole plexiglass with the ink. That's not where we want it. The trick is to load the brayer with the ink so that the brayer can then transfer it onto our print here. The more you spread the ink out on the plexiglass, the faster it's going to dry out. So you just want to do a little bit, like a nickel size amount. And when you roll it, you're going to pick it up and bring it back. And then pick it up and bring it back. If you just go back and forth like this, it's only ever going to roll 1/2 of your roller. We need to make sure it's making a full rotation by pushing it away, bringing it back, pushing it away, bringing it back. And I usually like to just go back and forth to make a small little square of ink here in the middle. That way I'm not spreading it out too far and it's drying out too much. Once your brayer is loaded up, you can roll it onto your block here. You'll probably have this on a piece of scrap paper when you roll it so that you don't get ink everywhere. And then you can either take your other paper and lay it on top of here and press it, or you can take your project and on a fresh piece of scrap paper, put it on here and press it down really hard on this side, rub it, make sure it's going to transfer, peel it off and look at your design. If it's good, then you are ready to make more prints. But if you see flaws in this design, then you need to wash this off and finish cutting it. At the end of class, make sure that these never get put away with the sharp pieces out. We always want those to go back inside. At the end of class, you always need to have this washed, your plexiglass washed, and your brayer washed. And all these little trash pieces need to go into the trash, not on the floor.